සියලුම SLT මොබිටෙල් සේවාවන් MySLT ඇප් එක හරහා කරගන්න. සියලුම SLT මොබිටෙල් සේවාවන් MySLT ඇප් එක හරහා කරගන්න.
දසනකාන්ති චූර්ණය සහිත ලීවර් ආයුෂ් දන්තාලේපය දත්වල ඇති ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් වළකයි.
Curtain call. The Yuan Wang 5 saga comes to a marked end after Sri Lanka allows the Chinese vessel call at port of Hambantota next week, but assures security in the neighborhood of utmost priority to Sri Lanka. New heights. Induction of Sri Lanka's first Dornier 228 reconnaissance aircraft on the 15th of August on a promise India made in 2018. Relief. Pope Francis donates 100,000 euros to Sri Lanka for the benefit of families of Easter Sunday terror attack victims. Meeting the requirements as Ministry of Power and Energy allows specific industries to import fuel based on requirements, strict action on refilling stations, disregarding guidelines. All this and much more coming up tonight, this Saturday, the 13th of August 2022.
විම්දියර මිලිලීටර් 100 ස්මාර්ට් පැක් එක රුපියල් 85ට දැන් වෙළඳ පොලේ.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
And a warm welcome. Joining you tonight on First at 9, I'm Indivari Amuatha. Sri Lanka will induct the first Dornier 228 maritime patrol aircraft to its fleet on the 15th of August under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The aircraft is provided to Sri Lanka from the Indian Navy fleet for 2 years until a new Dornier aircraft is manufactured and handed over to Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka has been gifted with the Dornier 228 maritime patrol aircraft by the government of India for 2 years. The aircraft was given to Sri Lanka after the government sought possibility of obtaining 2 Dornier reconnaissance aircrafts from India to enhance maritime surveillance capabilities of the country during the defence dialogue that took place between India and Sri Lanka on the 9th of January 2018 in New Delhi. As part of the request, India agreed to provide Sri Lanka with the Dornier 228 maritime patrol aircraft from the Indian naval fleet on gratis basis for 2 years until a brand new aircraft is built. The Indian government has expressed their willingness to provide Sri Lanka with the new Dornier reconnaissance aircraft after it is manufactured. Subsequently, another Dornier 228 will be inducted to the Sri Lanka Air Force after mutually agreed terms and conditions are met between both countries. Sri Lanka's first ever Dornier aircraft will be inducted to the Sri Lanka Air Force fleet on the 15th of August with the comradeship of neighbouring India. The induction will take place in a ceremonial procession under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe and High Commissioner of India Gopal Bagle. The aircraft will be flown and maintained only by 15 Sri Lanka Air Force crew members who were given specialised training in India for 4 months. The SLF intends to effectively employ the Dornier aircraft, especially in conducting maritime and coastal surveillance operations within the exclusive economic zone, search and rescue operations, casualty evacuation and maritime pollution monitoring and control within the Sri Lanka search and rescue region.
Contentions and contradictions surrounding the visit to Sri Lanka by Chinese research and surveillance vessel the Yuan Wang 5 was put to rest today after the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry granted clearance for port entry. The vessel, which gave rise to controversies and diplomatic concerns raised with Sri Lanka, has been granted permission to dock at Hambantota port for a week from August 16th, that's Tuesday next week. Now, Sri Lanka earlier deferred approval granted to the vessel to call at Hambantota port from the 11th to the 17th as concerns were raised by India citing economic and security reasons.
The Hambantota harbour master said that Sri Lanka's foreign ministry granted permission for him to allow the Chinese scientific research and surveillance vessel that has been at sea for 30 days to enter the Hambantota port from August 16 to the 22nd. Speaking to the AFP news agency, He said that they will work with the local agent appointed by the vessel to ensure logistics at the port. The ship was initially due to call at the Hambantota port on August 11th and remain for a week within the country's territorial waters until the 17th of August. According to the Atlas software data collected by Norwegian company Maritime Optima, the vessel is currently located 590 nautical miles southeast of Sri Lanka. The decision to allow the vessel to dock at the Hambantota port, which was first granted on the 12th of July, was revised on the 5th of August after the Sri Lankan government requested the Chinese embassy in Colombo through a diplomatic note to defer the vessel until further consultations on the matter were conducted. The sudden change of heart was brought about after India voiced concerns over the ship's visit to the Hambantota port, citing security concerns. According to recent media reports, India was not alone in voicing concerns over Sri Lanka's decision to allow entry to the technologically savvy ship, but the United States too have had concerns and raised the same with the Sri Lankan authorities. China took a dig at India on the 8th of August, saying it was senseless to pressure Colombo by citing security concerns. However, India categorically yesterday rejected insinuation by China, saying that Sri Lanka is a sovereign country and makes its own independent decisions. Nevertheless, China had sought clearance from Sri Lankan authorities on allowing the vessel entry on an alternative date, following a series of discussions carried out between the two sides in response to Sri Lanka's request for deferment. Issuing a communique today, the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry stated that on the 12th of August, the Chinese embassy, via diplomatic note, requested clearance for the vessel to enter the port for replenishment purposes on a new date from the 16th to the 17th of this month. Having concerned all material in place, Sri Lanka conveyed to the Chinese embassy in Colombo today that clearance is granted to the deferred vessel to enter the port of Hambantota on Tuesday next week and remain for a week. The Foreign Ministry reiterated Sri Lanka's policy of cooperation and friendship with all countries, adding that security and cooperation in the neighborhood is of utmost priority to the island. The ministry went on to say that it is Sri Lanka's intention to safeguard the legitimate interests of all countries in keeping with its international obligations.
Now, Bangkok police have advised Sri Lanka's former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, currently residing in a hotel in Bangkok, not to leave the premises until security concerns are over. In order to ensure security of the former head of state of Sri Lanka, who was allowed to enter Thailand on humanitarian grounds, plainclothes officials from the Special Branch Bureau of the Thailand Police have been deployed.
Former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived in Thailand on Thursday after the duration of his visit in Singapore expired on the same day. The former head of state arrived with his wife and another individual on a chartered flight from Singapore at Don Mueang International Airport in Bangkok at around 8 p.m. on Thursday. The Bangkok Post reported that even though the group had planned to land in Phuket, the flight was redirected to Bangkok following concerns about a possible leak in information. After landing in the country and being directed to the hotel in Bangkok, the name of which has not been revealed, police advised the former Sri Lankan president not to leave the hotel for security reasons and to stay within the premises at all times. According to the Bangkok Post, officers in civil clothes from the Special Branch Bureau in Thailand have been deployed to ensure his safety. Former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was granted access to enter Thailand according to the country's Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha on humanitarian grounds. During his stay of 90 days as allowed by his diplomatic passport, the former head of state will not be able to engage in any political activities.
And we'll be back with more news on the other side of this break. Do stay with us. You're joining us on AdaDerana 24 English News.
Big 3.
Welcome back to the news. All government and government-approved schools will deliver in-person lessons all 5 days of the week starting Monday. The Ministry of Education announced that schools will function from Monday to Friday during regular hours between 7:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Provincial authorities have been directed to make arrangements to provide transport facilities for principals, teachers and students of schools located in areas where public transport services are yet to return to normalcy. Education Ministry noted principals should provide relief to teachers and students who still find it difficult to secure transport facilities, and these relief measures should be informed to the provincial directors of education. The communique also stressed that the next 3 months should be utilized to teach the curriculum to students and extracurricular activities should be conducted after the regular school hours. Now, Sri Lanka gazetted the Petroleum Products Special Provisions Amendment Bill, allowing selected specific sectors of the economy to individually import necessary fuel quantities. Accordingly, the government will issue licenses to identified parties for importing petroleum products. On April 25th, the approval of the Cabinet of Ministers was received for the proposal tabled by Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara in this regard. The government said, as fuel is essential for all economic activities in the country, it is appropriate to issue licenses to selected specific sectors of the economy to import and use the fuel they require individually. Subsequently, the legal draftsman was advised to draft a bill to amend the Petroleum Products Special Provisions Act number 33 of 2022 in order to make provisions to issue licenses to properly identified parties. His Holiness Pope Francis has donated 100,000 euros to Sri Lanka that could be used for the benefit of the Easter Sunday terror attack victims. The 25 million rupees is set to be donated to the victims of the Katuapitiya and Kochikade church attacks, while 3 million will be donated to families who suffered from the Zion church attack in Batticaloa in 2019.
His Holiness Pope Francis donated 100,000 euros that could be used for the benefit of the Easter Sunday terror attack victims. The financial donation, valued in local currency, amounted to a total of 36 million rupees. From the financial donation, 25 million rupees is set to be donated to the victims of the Katuapitiya and Kochikade church, while 3 million will be donated to the families who suffered from the Zion church attack in Batticaloa. The distribution of the financial donation began today at the Katuapitiya church.
He asked me, do you have enough money to look after your people? I said, I am trying. Then he said, I can give you 50,000 euro. And then some months later, I see that he has sent me not 50,000 but 100,000. So he has doubled it. ඔබට මේ සිදුවෙච්ච වින්නැහියට ඔබට යුක්තියක් ඉෂ්ට විය යුතුයි. ඒ නිසායි අපි මේ නඩු දැම්මේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අපේ ඉතාමත්ම නරක සම්ප්‍රදායක් තියෙනවා. සුමාන දෙකයි මතක තියාගන්න කියලා ප්‍රභාකරන්ම කියලා තියෙනවා. ඒක ඇත්ත. ලංකාවේ නූතන ඉතිහාසයේ සිදුවෙච්ච මිනිමැරුම්, පැහැර ගැනීම, අසාධාරණකම් කිසි දෙයක් පිළිබඳව කිසිම රජයක් හරියාකාරව විමර්ශනය කරලා නැහැ. පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයටත් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ අන්නේ දෙයමයි.
And before we move on to more local news, we have your business news for tonight. Central Bank of Sri Lanka has established the Stakeholder Engagement Committee, replacing the Monetary Policy Consultative Committee and the Financial System Stability Consultative Committee. Issuing a communique, Central Bank said the move aims at broadening its engagement with key stakeholders of the economy.
The primary role of the high-level consultative committee is to represent the views and sentiments of the private sector and academia on economic conditions and the outlook, considering the overall economic development, particularly in the monetary and financial sectors of the economy. The Stakeholder Engagement Committee is also expected to provide feedback from the viewpoint of the stakeholders of the economy on the policy measures adopted by the CBSL, thus enabling the CBSL to make informed policy decisions in a more consultative manner. The 18-member committee, chaired by Professor in Economics of the Department of Economics of University of Colombo, Professor Sirimal Aberatnam, comprises private sector and academia as well. Its inaugural meeting was held Wednesday with the participation of the Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. P. Nandalal Veerasinghe.
Now, the United States has expressed concern to India that it was being used to export fuel made from Russian crude through high seas, transferred to hide its origin to New York in the violation of US sanctions. A top Indian central banker has said that the US Treasury Department told India that an Indian ship picked up oil from a Russian tanker on the high seas and brought it to a port in Gujarat on the west coast, where it was refined and shipped on. Now, the Reserve Bank of India Deputy Governor Michael Patra said the refined output was put back on the ship and it set sail without a destination. In the mid-seas, it received the destination, so it reached at its course, went to New York. US sanctions on Moscow from its February invasion of Ukraine prohibits the import to the United States of Russian origin energy products, including crude oil, refined fuels, distillates, coal and gas. Patra's comments are India's first official public reference to such US concerns. Delhi has not joined the sanctions against Russia or condemned what Moscow calls a special military operation in its neighbor. Patra said that he was told the Russian crude was processed and converted into a distillate used for making single-use plastic. He did not identify the Indian vessel or refiner. Now, India, the world's #3 oil importer and consumer, rarely brought Russian oil in the past, but since the war started, Indian refineries have been snapping up discounted Russian oil shunned by many Western countries and companies. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Vijayasekara said that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has been given directives to take appropriate management decisions and distribution decisions on filling stations that fail to adhere to guidelines. The instructions were given at a progress review meeting held this morning at the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited in Kolonnawa to look into the ongoing process of fuel distribution. According to the Energy Minister, data of the past 2 weeks were analysed, while the quantity of fuel distributed to each filling station and the quantity of fuel dispensed through the QR code system were also taken up for discussion. Fuel distribution to essential services, public transport vehicles, fisheries, harbours, agricultural requirements, industries and tourism was also reviewed at the meeting. Meanwhile, a crude oil cargo of 100,000 metric tons is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka later tonight and will undergo quality sampling tomorrow, according to the Minister of Power and Energy. Kanchana Vijayasekara said that another crude oil cargo of 120,000 metric tons is expected to reach Colombo between August 23rd and the 29th, and both cargoes are Russia's Urals Euro crude oil, according to the minister. Also in local news tonight, Sri Lanka's death toll due to COVID-19 climbed to 16,619 after the Director General of Health Services confirmed 9 more COVID-19 related deaths in the country for yesterday. According to the Government Information Department, all 5 victims were aged 60 years and above. 3 victims are men and the remaining 2 women. Meanwhile, another 181 new COVID-19 infections have been identified in the country today. This brings the total number of COVID-19 cases detected in the country thus far to 667,091. And that's it from us tonight. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.